It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA and around the world, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. So sad to hear about the death of actor Matthew Perry.
Yeah, very sad.
From Friends. You know, I was really busy in the 90s. And I don't think I've ever watched a full episode of Friends.
Yeah.
I have watched a partial episode of the Thanksgiving one where they all play football.
Yeah, right.
That I remember being over. I remember coming over. I was at work, and I stopped by my buddy's house, and he and his wife were watching that episode. I remember that one. Mm-hmm. And I don't know where I saw it, whether I watched an episode of it or saw it on YouTube later on. But when the boys get the recliners,
yeah, mm-hmm.
That's the one I remember.
Right.
If one thing, and then what's his name? What's his name's Monkey?
Oh yeah.
Remember he had the monkey.
Ross
had
his monkey.
Marcel.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, Marcel.
Yeah.
Ross had the monkey, and plus he was I always thought his character was extremely wimpy.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the point.
Always irritated me.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was just too wimpy. But yeah, just sad. I mean, he had very bad drug problems. Mm-hmm. Matthew Perry did for a significant period of time. You know, massive number of stints in rehab and operations on his stomach. Now, I don't know if that had to do with the drugs that he was taking. I believe it did at that time. But you know, he looked. I mean, when I last saw him, he looked worn. Mm-hmm. He looked like he was that life had really, really beat him down. Which you can't remain that kind of a massive addict and not have some type of negative, effect on you. Mm-hmm. And whether it had, anything to do with his death or not, we will find out when the autopsy comes out, because they're going to release that. But just very, very sad.
Yeah, it was very sad.
I just looked up for the heck of it because people are talking about, well, he got residuals. I went, well, wonder what he was worth. And who knows if it's close, but they say $120 million at the time of his death he was worth.
That era of television was probably the greatest and maybe one of the last eras of TV where actors were getting that kind of money per episode. And that goes back to, if you want to go back to the mid-'90s, they were still doing 22 episodes a year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if any of them on primetime TV do that anymore. I know on streaming it's 8 or 10 episodes per year. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah. And the biggest shows only do 8 or 10. And you think about that kind of work, but that kind of fame. And that was massive amounts of money that they were all getting, especially in the last couple of years. But that kind of fame, I've been told, is really hard to deal with. You're recognized. Television fame is totally different, because not only was their show a hit first run, but it's a hit on streaming still today. You've got generations that were very young, didn't watch it first run at all, that watch it on wherever, Netflix or wherever it is.
You made a great point that when you get to, that particular level and what they were doing for 10 years, 22 episodes a year, that means you're working like crazy.
Yeah.
All, most of the year you're working.
And your show's either on in reruns or first run every week.
Right, but I'm just talking about your particular lifestyle as an individual, that you're working all the time, and all of a sudden, boom, the show's over.
Yeah.
Now he did have a couple. I mean, he was in, and I don't. They were pretty entertaining movies. So what was it? The
whole nine?
Whole 9 yards, and it was a whole 10 yards. I mean, he and Bruce Willis together. I mean, that was pretty funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's still a movie. It's not the same thing. You know, once the movie's done, whether it's 6 weeks or whatever, then you move on. But you think about it, for 10 years, you're acquiring that kind of wealth. And then after, still acquiring that kind of wealth. And you're just not that busy anymore. And it's really the only thing that you were focused on. I mean, he got the job on Friends when he was 24. But, I mean, you're out there busting your butt every single day, probably with auditions and all that. And all of a sudden, boom, the show's over. You may look for some roles, or you may get a few roles here and there, but the lifestyle intensity of work has to change, and I wonder if that leaves a void if you don't have something else to put in there.
It might. It's quite possible that you're feeling, like you're semi-retired because your projects aren't coming along. Again, you're not reporting to a studio every day, and again, that type of, and it's global fame we're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, they were all recognized everywhere. And, it's a really sad situation to look at something like that and look at addiction and how it hits a lot of people, even people who aren't famous, but especially people when you talk about coming into fame at an early age and then becoming very wealthy at an early age. We've seen that with professional sports and Hollywood and a number of things. And I would imagine it would be a full-time job staying grounded, but once you get into addiction or alcohol or anything else, that seems to take over. It's, once you've lost, your will to battle that addiction, then it takes over physically, not just mentally. It controls everything. And it's a real sad situation to watch. It really is.
And I did see some of the interviews last year after he wrote his book. And they were great interviews. Mm-hmm. They really were. I mean, he took full responsibility. They asked him, can you blame this? He goes, no, it's me.
One trainer, the New York Post had a story that one of his trainers that was working with him lately said he was actually trying, that he was doing well, and he was trying to actually help other people get clean. And, so we don't know, again, what the cause of death is. There's been a lot of stories and a lot of speculation, of course. But, that's, again, it's just 54 is young, very young. And just a really sad situation for so many people that are involved. You don't think about it, but it's not just the other actors that were on that show. It's everybody who worked at that show, maybe worked at that lot. And of course, first and foremost, his family. His parents divorced in 1970, but they were still very much a part of his life. His dad was. In fact, he had posted some recent pictures with his dad. And his mom remarried. She's currently married to Keith Morrison of Dateline.
Yeah, I had no idea. That was new to me.
Keith Morrison actually did show up at the house the other night, in support of his wife and grieving the loss of his stepson. And it's just it really is it's just sad. My wife and I were out. We went out for just a little bit, and she just showed me the phone. She said, look, the story had come across her alerts, and she showed me. And it's just sad. Mm-hmm. Watching, that's the thing, also the thing about being famous, is that if you die before your time, it's very public. And in a situation where you've gone through a number of problems, everybody's going to speculate this and that. And, it's very sad.
I heard about it when I was when the baseball game was on the other day.
Yeah.
I can't remember which day it was.
Yeah.
But and I thought about it because when Robin Williams died, I was at a minor league baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget it because I saw it and I went, oh, no.
Yeah.
And in my row, I went, and the people in my row, I said, Robin Williams died.
Mm-hmm.
And people behind heard it. And you could just see it spread through the crowd. I mean, I was in a minor league ballpark, probably about 15,000 people at the game. This was in Buffalo, but I went with my family, and we just never went and did that. And you could hear over the next 5 minutes, you could see just people. You could almost, it was almost like a wave that went through the crowd as people knew about it, and everybody's looking at their phones, and there was like a murmur in the crowd. And so I just, that it just reminded me of that, and you just. You look back and you just say, you can have all the money, all the fame, and at times it doesn't matter. It's not the savior of a person,
right?
Becoming famous or becoming rich. It's not what makes, in the end, your life better. And again, I don't know why, I don't know the cause of his death, but I wouldn't be surprised that the health problems that he had because of the drug abuse was a contributing factor.
Could be, yeah.
And it was just, but then again, with Robin Williams, nobody really knew until after he died what he had. Mm-hmm. And then you felt just terribly. I just saw his house just sold.
Yeah.
Just saw that here in the last week.
Right.
Robin Williams.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, you just look at, you just look at it and you just, it's so sad. Also, Richard Mull from Bull from Night Court.
Yeah.
Passed away, 80 years of age.
80 years old. Yeah. He hasn't been in the spotlight. I haven't seen him even do an appearance in a long time.
No, neither have I.
Died at his home. They're not saying cause of death, but he lived in Big Bear Lake, California. Very beautiful place. But, I mean, he was, for all intents and purposes, retired. He wasn't very active, but very funny back in the day. Night Court.
Oh,
it was hilarious.
You know what it was? I mean, it's funny because on YouTube they're playing. I haven't seen the new redone one.
No,
I
haven't.
They did
either.
like 8 episodes or something last year.
I haven't either.
I've seen some of the clips on YouTube, and they make John Larroquette. He becomes more of a serious character,
right,
in his old age. It's sort of. I have seen some of the YouTube clips. It seems to work, but you go back to the old clips, the timing that they had there.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen comedic timing so quickly edited on a TV show.
And also natural. It seemed to be natural.
Yeah, natural.
You could believe that a Night Court would be that kind of setting with those types of characters and individuals. And it was very funny, hilarious.
Yeah, and it moved so quickly, and the jokes were so quick, but so funny.
Yeah.
I was on YouTube the other day after I saw his death, and it was one where they brought on all these people that were dressed as Trekkies or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And in the end, it's like, you don't control us. You're not the boss of us. We control our own lives. Beam us up, and all of a sudden they all get beamed up and disappear.
Yeah.
Right there in the court. It's like, all right, only Night Court could get away with that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because it's like nobody just went, oh my gosh, somebody got beamed up. It was just it's natural with this show.
Right.
You suspend reality in
all
your
of
own
the
mind.
oddities that came along with it. Yeah. No, it lent to the humor. It lent to all of it, and everybody that was on the show, they fit the role.
Yeah, they did. They really,
Larroquette was just awesome, I thought.
Oh,
Harry and Richard Mull. I mean, that was
Richard Mull, yeah.
That was a great character. It was a great character.
Yeah. Because he was so sensitive.
Yeah.
Just a really very, very, very sensitive character. But yeah, just really sad.
Yeah.
Really sad over the weekend for that. And you just shake your head. You just, And I feel sorry for his parents. You know, that's as you get older, you sit there. I think you understand it more. You're like, no, the parents are supposed to go before the kids.
Well, when parents outlive their children, it's always tragic.
Yeah.
It really is, and you know, I don't know if you ever get beyond it. You know,
I don't think you do.
And it really is tragic.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration says El Nino will be the predominant weather pattern this winter, meaning warm, dry conditions in the nation's northern tier and cloudy and wet in the southern half of the country. What might this look and feel like? USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey says an indication can be found in the last time El Nino was fully established in the winter season.
Going all the way back to 2018-19.
He adds there was a near nationwide wet pattern going into the spring of 2019.
We dipped to a record low drought coverage, just over 2% of the country in drought in the spring of 2019. And we also saw extensive flooding in all three of the major river basins, the Mississippi, the Ohio, and the Missouri.
One difference between this coming winter and the winter of 5 years ago, more drought area is noted going into the 2023-24 winter season. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Curley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, the list is out. The states with the best the best business climate.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
The Tax Foundation ranking of state business tax climates, that is.
Okay.
Okay. The top 10 states: Wyoming, South Dakota, Alaska, Florida, Montana, New Hampshire, Nevada, Utah, North Carolina, and Indiana. Bottom 10, Rhode Island, Hawaii, Vermont, Minnesota, Maryland, Massachusetts, Connecticut, California, New York, New Jersey at number 50. And that is looking at corporate income tax, property tax, unemployment tax, individual income tax, sales tax, gross receipts tax, whatever. That's looking at everything when it comes to the best tax climate. Texas, by the way, was number 13, just out of the top 10. So. But the worst, California, New York, New Jersey.
Yep.
Illinois was 37.
You know, you and I don't follow a lot of the local campaigning in those states, in those other states, but I'm really curious to see. I mean, we know that in California, you know, in Kevin McCarthy's district, we know that there are pro-growth conservatives in that district. And you know that some people run in those states and say we've got to change everything. We got to be pro-business. But at what point does it actually start to change? I don't see in my lifetime California turning around. The regulation's going to be the same. The cost of the regulation is going to be the same. So it's not going to turn around. New Jersey, New York, they're not going to turn around. And it's to what end?
Well, I guess because you look at it, you say, what forces you to turn around?
Right. At what point? Where is the
right,
threshold if you haven't reached it by now?
That's rhetorical. I'm not expecting an answer.
Right, exactly.
I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, I don't know what it is either.
Yeah.
giving you 70% each night. Eric Harley and Gary McNamara on Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Yeah, so when you look at the 2024 State Business Tax Climate Index there, and you start talking about, where are we evolving as a nation, and how will the states evolve? And really, you think about it, without COVID, you may not have had as quick of an acceleration of populations moving because the confluence of events there, everything from the policies of the state, the lockdown policies of the state, that sent a ton of people down to Florida, as we know.
Yeah.
Remember that.
Right.
And then the movement, and when you look at it, the movement from states like New York and California and New Jersey that are worst in the business climate, worst in taxes, and where are these people going to go? And some of the worst lockdowns that you had during COVID. That combination has sent people moving to different states. We had talked about that population extrapolation for 2100, where it shows Texas will be the number one state in the nation with 97 million people in 77 years.
Uh-huh.
I say we're going to be number one. Why? Because in 2100, I'll be dead. So,
yeah, I'm kind of hoping, based on that they don't find the actual key to a much longer life. Look, if you just take this, you can live to 200 years old. No, I'm good.
And we said, they take liberties on extrapolating out from the population growth from 2010 to 2020, because that's what they did to come up with and they didn't even, for example, COVID wasn't even taken into consideration for how they extrapolated that out. If you take COVID, whoa, it might even be greater. But I don't know when I don't know when the mindset will change in these extreme liberal states. I don't know. I can't tell you. They're still fighting in those states. If you look at the most liberal states like New York and California, they're still fighting over sanctuary cities. They know illegal immigration is a nightmare, but they can't admit that it is.
Right.
They know that to fund the police is a complete nightmare. They know no cash bail is a complete nightmare. They know not going after the criminals and the belief that, the criminals are actually victims. They know that policy is not going to work for them. They know it, but they can't change. And you and I have talked about that a lot, that they're not going to change anytime soon. Will they change in 20 years? What will make those liberal states that actually believe that the government officials can control an economy? Because that's where they are. That's where they exist. They really exist in New York and California.
Oh, yeah.
Not that they don't exist elsewhere, but you have a concentration of people who believe that the central planners of the state do no wrong. And all it takes to solve the problem is more taxpayer dollars to do it. How does that change?
Well, one of the things that has to change is the spending. So on a state level, you'd have to go back and say, we're no longer going to spend on this. Good luck campaigning in New York, New Jersey, or California by saying, I'm going to cut state spending here, here, and here.
Well, the only reason that it's easier to do so is they can't borrow like the federal government can.
Right. But no one wants to hear that anymore. What they want to hear is, no, go out and find it. Go tax the corporations. Go tax the wealthy. Don't cut any of my benefits.
Well, they haven't been able to get health care.
Nope.
State health care. They haven't been able to get that accomplished.
Nope, but they've got everything else done.
But I guess my point is there is a limitation as to what they can do. Yeah, the consumer or the citizen is screaming, we want more, give me more, give me more. Mm-hmm. But I guess my pointing that out shows it's limited, which then again, it still doesn't give me any clear path as to when they will eventually change.
Right, but you apply the delusional thought and it doesn't matter. These aren't people who actually care about the facts. Because otherwise it would have changed a long time ago. They want to live in the delusional state that the government can provide and that massive regulation is the answer.
Well,
they want all of that.
But they seem to understand, because we've talked about this, about the beauty of federalism, or we have 50 different state experiments. And we had said this way back when during the whole Obamacare thing. Well, why not just do it by your state? You do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because they can't afford to do it. They can't borrow money from future generations.
Mm-hmm.
So their delusion is not that their state can do it under the way the state is set up. Their delusion is we need to federalize all these programs because then the state can borrow from future generations, from our children and grandchildren, and support it.
That and tax the rich and the corporations more. Go find the money somewhere. Of what you've been giving me up to this point, you can't cut. And I don't know where you turn it around. I really don't know where that threshold lies. I don't think we'll see it in any of these states in my lifetime.
Certainly not my lifetime.
Because it has to be a massive, monumental 180-degree turn for the party that controls these states. That's not going to happen.
Well, if you see the mess that the state of Texas is in over energy, and we're, haven't always been, we've been a Democrat state till about 30 years ago? And now it's like we're a solid Republican state as long as Beto doesn't run again. But you still see the complete mess we're in when it comes to the grid based on liberal ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's here in Texas, I guess my point is, how the hell will you ever change New York or California where insane liberal ideas are so well ingrained?
You're not. Think about all the very basic things that would have to change in a big way for that to happen. Ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen.
How much young population do you lose? Because that's going to be the problem, is losing young people.
Well, from
those states to places where there are jobs.
Well, and that's it. And those young people are quite often, they bring they pack everything that they own on a U-Haul, including their hypocrisy. In that they want to go to a state where they have less regulation and it's pro-business. But I'll move to Austin where it's more liberal. I'll pretend I can get away with it. But the fact is, they're actually taking advantage of the very conservative ideas put into action in states like Texas. And those are the things that have always drawn us as a society, the things that actually work, the things that make our lives better, truly make our lives better. And one of that is wealth expansion and the expansion of buying power, purchasing power for all families.
When you mention purchasing power, too, the assumption can't be that it's only just young people looking for jobs. It's also people looking because they understand that the wealth that they have created and hold on to, even in equity, can be used much more efficiently and much more productively in other states.
Oh, yeah.
As we've talked about before, people that own their own homes.
Mm-hmm.
They've paid off their own homes and they've skyrocketed in price in California, where a $2 million house may be a $300,000 house in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So they just moved to Texas and they've got their home and they've got a big, big nest egg also.
Right.
Probably those people tend to vote more conservative than liberal. You would expect that they would. Again, I'm not saying they always do because that's not the case. But the fact is, if you understand wealth and you're attempting to protect wealth, you would hope that you would be more conservative.
Yeah. Well, you understand the very basic principles. You don't want, if you're going to a state, you don't want that state to become just like the state you're leaving. And you know how it gets there. And that's the difference, is that you can say, well, I'm leaving for a better job, but ultimately the political environment, the regulatory environment, and the pro-business environment that exists in those other states is what draws it.
You know what I have to do? What I've got to look at? I wonder if somebody's done this off that study from last week that shows in 77 years, Texas, the dominant state with 97 million people, which would even dwarf California. How many congressional seats would Texas have at that point?
Yeah, I don't know.
I have to look at that. What states? Because Florida Florida's expected to grow also, and so many of the places that are going to grow massively would be in the South.
Well, it would make more room for the No Labels Party. I'm sure that would be the case. The No Goals Party.
Hello, I'm Dean Phillips. I'm 130. I'm going to run for political office in Texas.
Seriously, the moment I hear scientific breakthrough, a new treatment will allow you to live to 250 years old, no, I'm going to stop going to the doctor that moment. No. I'm not doing it. It's not going to happen.
We're becoming much more like Al Bundy each and every day, embracing death.
I'm just going to lean right into it. Age is just a number. No, it's not.
60 is not the new 40.
It's not.
It's old.
Because then they'll be saying, at that point, well, 60 is the new 15. No.
No.
I don't like the 15-year-old me.
I've never been a fan of that whole euthanasia thing, but maybe I got a second thought here.
Just going to have to lean into it.
I'm kidding.
Let myself age naturally. I mean, if they come up with that, I'm going to, nope. First of all, my 401k ain't that big. I'm going to be moving in with my great grandkids. No.
Yeah, because odds are you're not going to be retirement. Social Security raises the retirement age to 430.
That's $250 million a year you're getting, and that's just to cover inflation. The cost of living.
Inflation.
I don't want to be here for any of that.
You're going to have to work 400 years before you collect.
No.
Wow, that's a long, quiet quit.
No.
If you're going to be quiet.
No.
I'm bored, says the 360-year-old.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do. I've done everything.
There's nothing on TV.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I just loved James Carville over the weekend because he's the one, the Democrat leader said, you need to shut up about Joe Biden's low polling numbers.
Yeah.
He's the one that got it all started.
Quit talking about the truth.
Oh, my.
I'm just so curious to see where this goes. than 24.
It's going to be a fascinating because you think about it, this next year at this time, this will be it.
Yeah, this will be it.
Yeah.
We'll be down to the wire. My gosh. 12 months. It's going to go by like nothing. That's going to be crazy.
And then you ask yourself, nothing could beat 2016 or 2020. It's
Oh,
like,
my gosh.
Man.
2024 says, hold my beer. It's going to be insane. It is going to be insane.
I know. Yeah, it is.
And we'll be here for all of it.
Yes, we will be, won't
It's going to be great.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood.